Hello and welcome to your weekly tarot forecast for the week of September 22nd through the 28th. I'm Michelle Shea Walker, and this is your glass half full perspective on the week ahead. If you're a paid subscriber or if you tipped your reader this week, be sure to stick around until the end of the video to see if you won the personalized reading drawing. And if you aren't a paid subscriber and you didn't tip your reader, maybe consider doing that before next week and you might want a free reading. Hello and welcome. I'm going to take a sip of my matcha and we'll get started. So we are diving in this week with a brand new season, a brand new chapter. It is the fall equinox. We are officially moving into fall. For those of you like me who have been kind of waiting for that fall transition for the past 2 to 3 weeks, astrologically and in the actual calendar, we are moving into fall at this time. So feel free to re-embrace the things that you might have already started integrating into your life, the sweaters, the pumpkin spice, whatever feels good, that now is the time. And if you're in a climate that is not fall weather, which quite frankly right now is Chicago, you can just fake it and do what you need to do to put on that fall ambient vibe. But all sort of Instagram worthy fall celebration aside, it is really important to mark these transitions in the seasons. We are moving a different stage of energy, and we really need to honor kind of what's come to pass and what's ahead of us in a way that feels organized and cohesive to our goals in life. So I know I personally just taught a farewell to summer flow in my yoga practice this weekend, and it was really nice to be outdoors in a park, to touch grass, to take in the sun, and to know that we're kind of absorbing all those things in sort of preparation for that hibernation period that comes with fall and winter. So give yourself some time this week to recognize and mark that transition of time, to kind of reflect upon summer and all the good times or the bad times or whatever it is that occurred to you, and ask yourself what you're moving into fall with. Is there anything that you're leaving behind with the season? Is there anything that you're wanting to integrate more of? Is there anything new that you want to call in? That is a really important thing to do during these transitional periods. It's also a good time for just fresh starts, new beginnings, new vibes. We're moving into the cardinal sign of Libra. So anytime we move into a cardinal sign, it's about sort of being an instigator, being the initiator in something. So it is definitely, as I said in my newsletter portion that went out this week, a start before you're ready energy. And that is also coming off of the tail end of our end of the eclipse portal yesterday on Sunday. So this is really the time is now. Whatever project, aspiration, goal in life that you've been trying to achieve, that you're wanting to work towards, but you've been putting off because you just don't feel like you're qualified, you're ready, you know enough, put all that aside and just start. So that is the energy that I want to bring for you into this next season and into this next week. So I encourage you to just start and you'll figure it out as you go along. With that in mind, we'll dive into both the astrology of the day-to-day of the week as well as the tarot cards. I will say I was very happy to see that the astrology is a little less intense than it has been in the past several weeks. And by that, I just mean we don't have something happening on every single day of the week, which is good. It's a lot easier for me to interpret the energy when I'm dealing with a little less information. And we are going to dive into some really interesting cards this week. And I think that they are both going to be reflecting the micro, our personal life, and the macro, the global scale. So if you're new here, know that I'm always offering you a glass half full perspective. And that doesn't mean that I'm painting everything with unicorns and rainbows. It means that I'm going to take anything negative that's occurring in the cards and flip it on its end to see what we can learn from it, how we can grow from it, how we can make the negative into something positive. I also am a big advocate of knowing that the micro, the stuff that happens on the personal level in your life, does affect the macro. So while we can get kind of overwhelmed by what's happening on the global stage, on the grand scheme of things, sometimes the easiest thing to do is focus on how you can change the energy you want to see changed in the world in your own personal life and inside yourself. So those two things are always going to affect one another. And if you're feeling overwhelmed with one, turn to the other one. They will both work each other out. So with that in mind, I usually do focus on the more personal reading of the cards, but do know that they can be used as a metaphor and applied to the global world as well. So starting out, we have Monday, September 22nd, the sun moving into Libra, as I said, the fall equinox, the start of fall. So we're moving from summer into fall. It is, in a way, a slower pace, but in a way, a faster paced. I think it's interesting because as we move towards colder seasons in the Northern Hemisphere, we do tend to slowly start to trickle into a slower energy physically, but it can sometimes be a faster energy mentally, especially during this fall period. I do equate it to a back to school season because regardless of whether you're still in an actual classroom, it is a good time to kind of open up your mind to learn something new, to start some sort of curriculum for yourself that's going to help you to expand. Because as the body slows down, the mind can open up. And we're going to really want to have that expansion and process as we move into winter so that we have sort of like brain food to consume and to get us through, for those of us that are in the Northern Hemisphere, the colder, the darker months. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's kind of an opposite energy. You might feel that you're speeding up mentally, speeding up physically, but maybe slowing down mentally. You're giving yourself a little mental break. But we're marking a transition that's happening right now. And the other thing that's happening on Monday is that Mars is moving into Scorpio. So Mars likes being in Scorpio. Those two energies go well together. And it's definitely an energy of taking our passions and exploring the unknown, exploring the things that we're not certain about, that haven't come to light. So again, start before you're ready. I cannot stress enough that that is the main message that I had for you this week and this season. The Mars energy is about passion, passionate drive towards something, whether it be sexual pursuits, creative pursuits, monetary pursuits. It could even be about passionately fighting for a cause that you believe in. But with Scorpio, we're exploring the unknown, the sort of underbelly of a situation. And that could be that we're getting a little subversive with the ideas that we're dealing with, or it could be that we're examining the parts of ourselves that we have yet to examine. And we're bringing those to light and we're moving forward in a very passionate, driven way. So sometimes to explore the unexplored, you have to just start. You just have to start that journey. You have to go into the woods. You have to dive into the pool and see what you discover. And so that is the energy that we're bringing into this start of fall. Now, the sort of Libra season also means that we're working to create some balance in our life. So it is kind of that work-life balance, that health and what would be balanced to that? Health and illness is not what I'm going for. Health and luxuriating of sort of the deliciousness of things that aren't necessarily healthy. Indulgence, that's the word I was looking for. So sort of our being more strict about ourselves, but also allowing for indulgences. We're balancing these things out. We're also balancing out our relationships and our interactions within the world, both on the micro and in the macro. So it's about finding balance and trying to find a way that in the end works for everyone. So think of the scales of justice. It's not so much that everyone is getting what they want in the moment, but in the long run, we're working for the greater good, for balance overall. So that's what we start with. And the card of Monday is the Three of Cups. So I do think that this energy of moving forward, of starting before we're ready, is being supported by community. And it may be a smaller community because it is the Three of Cups, not like the Ten of Cups or the Ten of Pentacles, but it is community nonetheless. And this can go one of two ways, depending on where you are in your life. If you do have a really supportive community around you, it could be that you're delegating tasks, you're reaching out to others, you're asking others for their expertise, you're taking a class in something that you're wanting to learn more about. Or if you're less connected to the people in the physical world at this time, it could be that you have some spiritual help in your corner. So, and it could be both. For most of us, it's both. So kind of use your intuition to know if you're tapping in and asking sort of your guides, your ancestors for a little help in something, or if you're asking the outside world for a little help and support. And also being open for the ways that support shows up for you, even when you haven't asked, because this is a very supportive crew that's happening here. And it is kind of a magical strength in numbers type energy with the Three of Cups. So it could be that you're kind of getting the message during this season that you don't have to do it all on your own. And in actuality, when you do have sort of that community, that sense of sort of a coven, you can call in things that much more stronger, that much faster. And we are going to move from Libra season into Scorpio season eventually, which is also a very mystical, witchy coven energy. So this is kind of preparing us for that gathering around the cauldron and making magic, whether that be in a literal sense or in a metaphorical sense. Yeah, this definitely feels like there is something to be assisted in your start before you're ready journey. So whatever it is that you've been putting off because you don't feel quite ready, just start. That's your initiative. You get things started, but then be open for the help that can show up for you or the help that you can seek out. This could be as simple as looking up tutorial videos on YouTube for whatever that you're trying to learn or do. It could be that you take a class. It could be you find a mentor. It could be you just ask a couple friends to come over and help you do whatever it is you're trying to do. Like maybe you're painting your apartment and you're like, oh, this is kind of daunting. Maybe I ask some people to come over and help out, and we throw a little party and we have a little magic making while we get this task done. So that is Monday's energy. Tuesday, we have the sun opposite Neptune and the sun trine Uranus. So kind of bookending the day. The beginning of the day, 7:53 a.m. Central Standard Time in America. The sun is opposite Neptune, which means that our sense of self is at play at both of these things. I had some noise in the background and I need to check what that was real quick. So the sun opposite Neptune means that our sense of identity is kind of in opposition to the change that's being created right now. That doesn't necessarily, I mean, all of these planets move in these ways all the time. So this isn't like a chronic condition that we're going to be in. It's just on this particular day, the way that change is being created by you or in the outside world might feel in conflict or in opposition to who you identify yourself to be. And that doesn't necessarily mean that either of these two things are wrong. It just means that in this moment, they're not working together. Sometimes it does mean that your sense of self is meant to transform and translate into something that's going to more accommodate the change. Or it could be that the things that you're trying to change are meant to transform and change into things that more readily connect to who you are and who you identify as. It just depends on where you are on your journey. If you feel like your sense of identity is in alignment with who you truly are, what your highest path is, then maybe it is that you're changing the goal, you're changing the things that you want to change. But if you're still in this place where you're feeling a little lost, you're feeling a little aimless, you're not feeling as secure in your sense of identity, sometimes the change of the outside world is going to help you to find that you're transforming and you're re-identifying as a different aspect of yourself. So that's the morning. The evening is the sun trine Uranus, which is a sense of lies. I have to back up and correct myself. So excuse everything that I just said. Uranus has changed. So our trine to Uranus in the evening is actually supportive of identity and change. Apologies for that. I get a little like, I read both of them and my brain goes off on a tangent. The morning, sun opposite Neptune. Neptune is less about change and more about dreams. So our dreams and ourself are in opposition in the morning. By the evening, the idea of change and our sense of self are more in alignment. So that actually makes it easier on us because it feels like we're just re-identifying what it is that we think we want in the world and how we see ourselves and the dreams that we have for ourselves. And we're making sure that those dreams line up with who we actually are. We're making sure who we are lines up with the dreams. Manifestation 101, you embody the feeling of already having what you want to achieve. So we're working on that throughout the day. And then in the evening, there's a lucky little meetup of your sense of self with the ability to change. I like that so much better for us. Not that the others don't happen at other points in the year as well, but that actually is a great progression. So we are more apt to be able to create the change that we need to when the sun is trine Neptune. Uranus. Oh my gosh, when the sun is trine Uranus. So on the global scale, this also means some things are occurring. So there is a sense of identity in the world on a country basis, on a humanity basis, that is transforming. And we're kind of readjusting what we identify as our whatever category you want to put that underneath. And we're adjusting the ideas and the things that we're changing and the dreams that we have based on this new identity that is being formed as a whole, as a society. And I mentioned that because our card is the Emperor reversed. So this is the first of two occurrences this week where I got this feeling of like the king has abdicated the throne or the empire has fallen. And I say that not as like a fear-based warning, but as sort of a reminder that things are in constant motion and constantly there's every single day there's an opportunity for change in a circumstance on a personal level and on a global level. And this does feel like it's a card of those who have been in power may get a little bit of upheaval. And again, this is one of two cards that I got this message from this week. So your job in that is to ask yourself, what powers are you claiming for yourself in this new sense of identity that you're developing during this transition of the planets? What are your powers? Think of it as like we're in a superhero movie, only instead of just kind of randomly getting a power based on if you got bitten by a spider or like submerged in toxic waste, you are choosing, or at least being consciously aware of the powers that you are cultivating. So what are your superpowers in this new world that we're developing? How can you best show up for both yourself and the outside world in a way that feels truly authentic to your best abilities? And that's kind of what we're working with here. And it's a very big picture energy. So we're not just talking about this week with this, we're talking about the grand scheme of things. Where do you show up? How do you show up for yourself? How do you show up for the outside world? And how do you do it in a way that feels authentic to you? Because it shouldn't be like you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It should be like you're slipping very naturally into place based on your skill set, your abilities, your beliefs, and your goals. And that's what's starting on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have the sun trine Pluto in the wee morning hours, 1:04 a.m. Central Standard Time. So if you're further west, it's still kind of technically Tuesday night. And then we have Mars square Pluto. So whereas we had things happening with the sun on Tuesday, we have things happening with Pluto on Wednesday. And Pluto is the planet of like grand generational change. So this is a good day on the micro level to work with your ancestry, your generational limitations that you're shedding, expectations of your family and your lineage that you no longer feel like you want to be bound by. Especially in the morning hours or even in the late evening hours the night before, we might be doing this work because the sun trine Pluto is very lucky with having that sort of like alignment with that big transformational energy in regards to our sense of self. So I think that this is a big week to be really looking at your family, your ancestry, your heritage, and saying, what are the patterns here that I do not want to repeat? Where are you the cycle breaker? is what's happening on Wednesday. And then with the Mars square Pluto in the evening, 6:51. No, it's still the morning. It's just, I've got so many notes. It's further down in the day. So 6:51 a.m. So just a couple hours later, Mars squares Pluto. There's a bit of a harsh angle, a conflict between that change and your passions. It's not the best day to get into an argument and actually create change from that argument. So just keep that in mind. But it is a good day to try and rehash how your passion, whatever that might be, your drive in life, is aligning you with this transformational cycle breaking energy that you're trying to cultivate. The card of the day is the Three of Swords. Now, the Three of Swords is a card of heartbreak, of betrayal, but also of healing. So I honestly want to read this card more as that healing of the generational trauma, healing of stuff that maybe you're personally traumatized by and privy to and knowledgeable of, and also healing of stuff that you might not even know about your ancestors and your lineage. It's I'm not gonna lie, it's deep work, and it's deep shadow work, it's cutting of ties, it's a lot that we're achieving this week. And I think that these swords are actually coming up to help us remember to cut those ties. So if you're not familiar with cord cutting, there's a great way to just meditate on feeling a connection to anything, whether it be your ancestors, the traumas of your past, the traumas of your family's past, and literally picturing it as being attached to you on a cord. And then you take whatever device you feel good about to cut that cord. So you could take one of these swords, you could take some scissors, you could, whatever feels good to you, but visualize disconnecting from that energy. And that mental shift that happens just from picturing that occurrence is sometimes enough to help propel you forward and to cleanse you of those connections and of those things that have been holding you back that weren't yours to carry to begin with. This feels like I want to give us a pause here to do just a little bit of energy work and take a little breath and maybe even do this visualization right now. So this feels important to take a pause on Wednesday as well. So if you want to watch back on this video and come back to this, feel free. But just take a moment to close your eyes here. And I want you to think of something that's holding you back from starting your goals. And it could be something small, like just like a fear of being seen, of failing, whatever. Or if you want to think on a grander scale, it could be something big. If you're noticing a pattern in your personal fears moving forward that connects to your generational line, like maybe it's something that generations and generations of men or women or whatever in your family have been limited by. And you're actually carrying around this limitation in your mind and in your body and in your cells that is no longer true in your reality. But whatever it is that you picture as your limitation, I want you to picture as like something that's been pulling you back or holding you in place from a cord somewhere in the back line of your body. And if you can, kind of do a little scan and see if you feel any physical sensations of where that cord might be attached. And then I want you to picture in your mind either you yourself or one of your guides, your angels, even one of your ancestors, whoever you see as a protective energy to you, taking a sharp object or something that has the ability to cut this cord and just cutting it right down towards your body so that there's very little cord left. You can even imagine unhooking or untying or however the cord feels connected, taking whatever's left and dropping it away as well. But I want you to imagine disconnecting from that cord and imagine that cord that was remaining, that wasn't attached to you, just sucking back into space towards wherever it came from. And then just let yourself have a moment of feeling a little healing of that space where that cord was attached. Maybe send a little love, a little light, a little, whatever color feels healing to you to that area. And then ask that that cord stay disconnected, that this be a permanent solution to disconnecting from this limiting belief, from these limitations, from these traumas. And then imagine in your mind that you're taking some steps forward without feeling that pull at your back, holding you from this progression. Then take a deep breath in and deep breath out. And you can blink your eyes open. If you have some water or something to hydrate with nearby, I highly recommend that. And with that, we're going to move on. So that was Wednesday. We're clearing that space. If you want to do this again on Wednesday, come back to this video. Thursday, we have quiet astrology, nothing happening in the stars. But this is our second. The king has abdicated. The throne abdicated? The king is, yeah, that sounds like the right word. The king is no longer on the throne. The empire has fallen. Those that are in power are realizing or everyone's becoming aware of the illusion that that power is not there and that the collective holds the power. So that's Thursday, but there's very little astrology to back up what's happening in this card. And it is a minor arcana as opposed to our Tuesday major arcana. So this is a little bit of a lighter energy of the same message as Tuesday. So I think Tuesday is kind of like a bigger one. And then Thursday is kind of like it's like an echo of that energy. And again, it's about you asking yourself, what is your superpower? What power, what throne, what legacy are you claiming in this occurrence, in this moment in time, and moving forward? So we've got like these big things happening this week where we're working on a personal level to be able to disconnect from our own personal ties that have been holding us back and move towards probably more smaller goals in our life. And we're also working on this like grander scale to claim our power and claim our place in the collective, moving forward into the change that we want to create and that we want to see in the world. That is what I have to say about Thursday. Friday comes in with a beautiful energy. So I feel like Monday and Friday are kind of bookends to one another, just like Tuesday and Thursday are kind of bookends to one another. And then we got a lot of healing going on Wednesday. So Friday, we have the moon moving into Sagittarius. It did move into Scorpio on Wednesday. Didn't mention it because there was other stuff happening there. But the moon moving into Sagittarius on Friday just means that we might be feeling a little more open to exploring the world. Scorpio energy before that is a little more, again, reflecting on the internal. So it was very fitting for what we were talking about on Wednesday. We're venturing back out potentially with the moon in Sagittarius. And the card is the Ten of Cups. So the Ten of Cups is a beautiful card of community. It's manifesting whatever your ideal version of community is for you. It's the family, it's the friendships, it's the partnerships, it's whatever it is that true, like who are your people? And you're either connecting with your people, whether it be physically or energetically on Friday, or you're calling in the energy that's going to help you find your people if you're still on the search. So this is a really good day to connect to friends, to connect to partners, to connect to your chosen family, and to celebrate those connections. And it's also a really good card for being grateful for the wishes that are coming true. So the Nine of Cups is like a wish card, like a Make-A-Wish card. And I always feel like the Ten of Cups is like, look at what you've wished for that is now in your life. Look at all the stuff that you've successfully manifested, which is a great practice because we weren't doing any active manifestations on our eclipse new moon. So this is kind of just a moment to pause and be like, you know what was it that you were wishing your life to look like when you were 11, 12, 13 years old? And what parts of those wishes have come true for you? And give yourself the props for having the energy to call those things in, and give the universe thanks for helping them come to you. Because this is that card. And this is a card of celebrating community. So we've done some heavy work in the middle of the week. And I think that this is really important of like remembering what we're fighting for, remembering what we're showing up for, remembering what we're claiming our power for, so that we feel levity in the energy and we're ready to move forward fighting for what we want to, the good things that we want in life, rather than fighting against the bad things. That's really almost always going to be my message. Like, yes, there are plenty of bad things that occur in the world that aren't pleasant, that aren't great, that aren't good for humanity. But there's always a flip side of the coin. And that's the glass half full perspective, is when there's something that you dislike about the world, what's the opposite end of that you can pour your energy into? Because that's going to be so much more powerful than telling people not to do something or fighting against something that you don't like. Like, give the support to the helpers rather than trying to fight against the oppressors. And that's going to be such a better use of your energy. So where are you pouring your energy into the good that you want to see in the world on Friday? Moving into Saturday, quiet astrology. The card is the Ten of Wands reversed. So we're letting go of some burdens we've been carrying. I think that this is sort of a little bit of an echo of our card on Wednesday, where we're cutting the ties to the things from our generational trauma that we've been carrying around. But it's also just in general a reminder to delegate, to not carry the energy of other people around with you, because it's not your job to heal them. You just need to show up in your own healed form and set an example. There's definitely a feeling of making sure that you're not wrapped up into codependent tendencies. But because the card is showing up reversed, it's kind of like naturally what's happening. This isn't so much like you're doing it, don't do it. It's like, good for you. You're letting some of this go. You're delegating things. You're releasing patterns that aren't yours. You're releasing burdens that aren't yours, and you're letting other people show up for themselves. So I also want to point out that we have 2 10s and 2 3s this week. 10s mark the end of a cycle, which is fitting because, again, we're ending summer, we're moving into fall this week. And then we're also dropping these old patterns that we no longer need. We're shedding, kind of like the trees are dropping leaves, we're shedding the things that we no longer need to nourish during this season. And then the 3s are kind of this energy of calling on reinforcements and finding that sense of creating a little bit of healing and help from whether it be spiritual or physical support around you. And we're doing that here. We're ending cycles, but we're also kind of beginning cycles with this sense of community and help around us. Sunday, also quiet astrology, 28th of September, and we had 2 cards come out for this one. So they're both major arcana. It is our second and third major arcana for the week. And the first one was Temperance, which is about creating balance and alchemy in your world. So Temperance is about kind of making the impossible seem possible, like being 1 foot on water, 1 foot on land, pouring from one cup upside down into another one. Like, it's defying gravity. It's creating, diamonds from coal and gold from non-precious metals. It's really creating magic in a way that, for those that haven't been doing the work, it feels absolutely like crazily impossible. Like, they don't know how you do it. And the reason that you can do it is because you've done the work. So this is a card of really kind of like triumph over the stuff that you've been moving past early on in the week. And then the other card we have is the Hanged One reversed. So this is a card of the wait is over, because the Hanged One upright is like, be patient, shift your perspective, kind of wait it out because there's new information that's coming to light. New shit has come to light, man. And this one is about getting the green light. Like, you've been patient for long enough. You have the information that you need. Start before you're ready. You have everything you need in your pocket. You're creating the impossible. Nobody knows how you do it, but you are more ready than you think you are. And if you don't start, you never will. You're going to miss this magic window if you don't start now. So if you didn't start something during the previous encounter of the week, of the eclipse season, like the eclipse portal the past 2 weeks, please utilize the energy this week and start. Just do it. And if you want to know my own story about working with this energy, I have a newsletter that went out in another section of the Substack. So just go to the main page and check that out. So, but I can tell you, as someone who tried this start before you're ready during this eclipse into this new season, it really does help. Just getting over that hurdle, just make the leap, make the jump, and you're going to realize that you're more capable than you think you are. And it's going to look to the outside world that you're creating like the impossible, that you're making the impossible possible. Okay, so that is our week ahead. We are going to dive into the personalized reading drawing. So I'm going to start by thanking my paid subscribers because I appreciate you so much. You're the reason I show up for these readings all week because I know someone's watching. So we have paid subscriber Caitlin, who won last week's reading. So she's not on the wheel this week, but Caitlin, thank you for being a paid subscriber. If you didn't see your reading last week, please go watch that. We also have paid subscribers Tracy, Francis, Amanda, Sonia, Jane, and Holly. Thank you all for being a paid subscriber. And we're going to spin the wheel and we're going to see who won the personal reading. If you feel called to stick around and you're not on the wheel, it's probably a sign that there's going to be something in someone else's reading that is resonant for you. So just use your intuition to pick out the messages that are for you and the ones that aren't. And we'll see who's going to win. Tracy, you've won the reading, and I'm going to pull from the Wild Unknown deck. I feel called to change the card decks this time. So, as always, we're just doing a past, present, future reading, and I'm letting the energy in the cards let me know what kind of situation we're talking about for you. And if anybody else wants to stick around, pick the messages that work for you, leave the ones that don't. Okay. Oh, we got one. Already fallen out. Past. Present. Oh, we got a lot. We only need one. Just one. That one. Okay. All right. So, Tracy, your recent past energy is the Hermit card. So this is definitely an energy of turning within, kind of disconnecting from the outside world, from the community, disconnecting from the opinions of others for a little bit so that you can tune back into what it is that you truly want and reflect on who you are and who you're becoming. So this is really great energy for that transition of the seasons, making sure you do that reflection of the previous season or the previous several years or whatever it is you're reflecting upon, so that as you move into this new chapter, you have clarity around what direction you're moving and who you want to be moving into it. Present card is the Son of Cups. So Cups is a creative energy. It's also like emotional and love-based energy. And it's also about our intuition. So the Son of Cups is mirrored. It's the Knight of Cups in other decks. And so it's about taking action on your creative impulses or on your intuitive impulses or on your impulses in regards to love and relationships. And I feel like creative is coming forward a little stronger than others. So if you do have a creative inspiration that's been kind of nagging at you, pulling at you, asking you to start before you're ready, the Knight of Cups definitely is ready to take movement on that. It's ready to start. It's ready to dive in. Let me see if there's any other energy that wants to come forward with the Son of Cups. The Son of Cups can sometimes get tied up a little too much in the emotionality of something. So if you feel like you're kind of getting caught up in fear or you're having a lot of emotions come up around the idea of starting before you're ready, look at the practical steps that you can take rather than the emotions that are coming forward. Like this kind of feels like what we do with cognitive behavioral therapy, where when you're trying to get out of a state of depression, or you're trying to get out of a funk, you simply look at the tasks that you can do, like making your bed or giving yourself a single thing to do as a ritual every day that can help slowly pull you forward. And that's what this feels like with this creative assignment. It's like you're not going to get so caught up in like the bigger picture or even the fears behind it. Just kind of tell yourself, okay, I don't have to do anything that I'm afraid of. I just have to do this one simple task that's moving in the direction towards this project, and just break it down into really simple endeavors. The future card is the Two of Cups. So if you were resonating more for the idea that the Son of Cups was about love, this could be a love reading as well. So it could be that you're taking tiny steps towards connection and a relationship. And in this case, the Two of Cups is a coming together of that relationship, a meeting of like minds. It also could be that this creative project, if that's what resonates for you, is going to call in some like minds, either in a romance or a platonic situation or in a creative collaboration situation. Because the Two of Cups doesn't have to always be about love. It can be about other types of soulmates, creative soulmates, business soulmates, friendship soulmates. So if you're searching for a sense of community, especially in regards to all the community that we talked about this week in our weekly reading, know that starting before you're ready on whatever's happening in the present moment can start to trickle that community in for you. So I hope that that served you. I am going to take a peek at what's underneath the deck just for see an underlying circumstance. I love this. The Ten of Pentacles. So doing this, coming out of that turtle shell, out of that hermit mode, and diving into whatever it is that's pulling at you right now has the potential to bring in just the ultimate security, whether it be financial security, family security. It's the Ten of Pentacles is like the generations have been healed and there's a happy family and we have the home that we need and we have all the money that we need. And there's definitely good to come from the Ten of Pentacles being achieved. And I think that it all starts with this Son of Cups and diving into, again, either a creative project or an emotional connection that you don't feel quite ready for, but that you're more ready than you think you are. And just take it one step at a time. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get overwhelmed by the end goal. Just ask yourself, what's the next action? And take that. All right. I hope that served you well. Thank you for anyone that watched this far. And again, if you want to be part of the personal reading drawing, you can become a paid subscriber. You can you can tip your reader if you would like. And if you want to know more about my own personal journey in regards to starting before I'm ready, check out the newsletter post that I did, I think the day that I'm recording this, or it might come out the same day of this video. It really just depends on the rest of my evening goes, but it'll be on the Substack. So check out the homepage for that and see what's happening. I'm titling it something along the lines of, "This is your sign, start before you're ready." Thank you and have a wonderful start to your autumn and a lovely start to your week.